are at the Berkeley Research Group waiting to meet Professor David Teese to have a personal and professional discussion with him. The professor conducted a number of research in the fields of corporate strategy, entrepreneurship and innovation. Professor Teese is the recipient of the 2011 Herbert Simon Award of Reich College.
I'm a professor in the Haas School of Business, associated with the Institute for Business Innovation, and my focus is on the business firm and strategic management and getting a better understanding of what firms need to do in order to not only become successful but stay successful in today's economy, which is highly interdependent and where there's deep uncertainty. I have a PhD in economics, and I've learned all the microeconomic theory of the firm. And then I started teaching at a business school and trying to understand business. And quite frankly, the standard microeconomic theory in the textbooks isn't very helpful, particularly if you're looking at Silicon Valley. And I live here at Berkeley on the edge of Silicon Valley, and I needed a new framework in order to help me understand what good management was about. It's not about equating marginal revenue and marginal cost. It's not about the standard optimization activities, although you still need to be good at that. It's much more about sensing and seizing new opportunities and shaping the business environment, not just adapting or responding to it. So I came up, together with my students actually, with this concept that I've called dynamic capabilities, which is about how firms maintain what we call evolutionary fitness as markets change and as technological opportunities change.
At the beginning of our interview, we wanted to gain a deeper understanding of dynamic capabilities and the advantages in its application in the real world as opposed to standard economic theories.
Dynamic capabilities is about doing the right things, and ordinary capabilities, or textbook economics, is about doing things right. Best practices are about ordinary capabilities, they're about optimization. But companies that have won awards for best practices, have failed the next year and gone out of business. So best practices will get you focused on doing things a little bit better and deflect your attention. They don't necessarily deflect your attention, but if the leadership of the company isn't aware of the bigger picture and you're down in the weeds focused on optimization, you can lose the opportunities that are coming along in big markets, and you can lose the opportunity to be in the frontier. I think the eclectic approach that you find in engineering schools gives the opportunity for people to actually follow their instincts and to develop new theories, often in cooperation with people in other disciplines. I mean, engineering alone cannot illuminate business education, but engineering together with other disciplines can really make a significant contribution. And as we think about the emerging technologies of the future, like AI, the engineers understand the likely trajectory of evolution for these technologies, and without that understanding, I don't think business people can really get the kind of rich insights that they need in order to make good decisions. One of the micro foundations of dynamic capabilities is this ability to sense what's happening and to make sense of what's happening. I think AI can help us get a better understanding of the sensing and sense-making.
By digging deeper, Professor Teese highlighted the importance of collaboration between engineers and business professionals in the field of innovation and technological tools like AI.
There is the opportunity in open societies for new institutions to emerge and private arrangements to emerge to deal with these issues. So I'm much more optimistic that free and open societies will find a way to deal with it than I am that autocratic societies will deal with it. In fact, autocratic societies will make it harder for open democratic societies to function. The two are not compatible with each other, and so I see an enormous tension emerging between the liberal democracies and the powerful autocracies of the world that is even more significant than it was between the Soviet bloc and the Western world in the past. AI really helps with what I call ordinary capabilities. You know, mortgage lending, for instance, an AI robot can probably do selection pretty well. But as AI gets more sophisticated, it actually can enhance dynamic capabilities too. So in the first phases, the ones we're in now, I don't think it's having much impact on assisting with dynamic capabilities, but I believe it will, because it'll be able to, you know, give you real-time information about changes in markets, and it may also be able to help you with real-time responses. First of all, I'd like to see some evidence that they understand those markets and those companies. They don't, because most of the policymakers are using the static frameworks. The static frameworks are what informs economic analysis and antitrust economics and competition theory. So I've actually been working, I have a large paper called Big Tech and Antitrust. Big Tech, Dynamic Competition and Antitrust. It's a research paper I'm working on because I don't believe the antitrust authorities will be able to bring good regulation. I do think there's a need for certain types of regulation, but I would sooner they do nothing rather than the wrong things. And there's a lot of hubris out there by regulators. They think they understand what they're seeing, but they really don't. Until they become deep innovation scholars, they're going to make more mistakes. They're going to do more harm than good. So I think we should be more aware and concerned about regulators than we should be concerned about big tech. That could change, but that's the state of affairs right now.
Lastly, Professor Tees talked about his pathway of becoming an academic scholar, issues concerning the current teaching methods in the field of business studies, and the importance of willing to change the status quo.
But really what led me into research is the great good fortune of actually meeting an advisor, Edward Mansfield, who was the leading economist looking at the economics of technological change in the 70s. And in fact, he was one of the only half a dozen scholars that were really focused first and foremost on innovation. So I got interested in innovation. I subsequently, I got to work with Oliver Williamson, who's our Nobel laureate economist here at Berkeley, and got engaged with organizational economics. And so that took me on a research trajectory, but I can tell you now that I was always involved as a consultant and as a business builder. And today, while I'm still 50% with the university, I'm actively involved in building a number of firms, including the Berkeley Research Group, which is 1,500 people and offices in 45 countries. So I do bridge theory and practice, and I think it's hard to do that well, but it's important to try. My early teaching career was at Stanford, and the students kept asking really good questions that the textbook frameworks didn't provide answers to. So I had to decide, were these good questions or were the textbooks deficient in some way? And I decided the students were right. Their questions were legitimate questions, important questions. Textbook didn't answer, so my entire research trajectory is really trying to answer the type of sensible questions that students ask. Not every question from a student is sensible, but they're all good questions. And in the main, questions not just from students, but from policymakers as well, is really what's animated my research. So I work backwards from, okay, here are the set of problems, what do I really need? And rather than go to the shelf of this is existing knowledge, if there's nothing on the shelf, I wouldn't use something from a different shelf. What most scholars do is they reach for the known toolkit to solve whatever problem there is. So if they have a hammer, they'll use it on any nail. Whereas sometimes, a nail doesn't need a hammer, it needs something quite different. In which case, if it's not there, you have to go and invent it. That said, I think business education is valuable so long as you go into it with an open mind and an understanding that not everything you're taught is right. And by right, I mean, if you encounter a new problem, yes, think about what you've learned in school, but don't accept it as necessarily the right answer. You need to always be questioning and to challenge the status quo. In fact, one of our motives and one of our mottos at Berkeley is challenge the status quo. And that's true not just in the marketplace, but it's also with respect to the state of knowledge. Always be questioning, not to the point that it disables you from action, but always be a bit skeptical of people that are experts, particularly if they're self-styled experts.